Welcome to the PokerRoad Radio Show, hosted by Gavin Smith, Joe Seabach, and Bart Hansen. PokerRoad Radio is the only poker radio show where the writers aren't on strike.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Our writers, I just saw them eating some filet mignon.
Our writer here, he's certainly not on strike. Al here. We're from Day 1B here, the Foxwoods World Poker Finals from Mashantucket, Connecticut.
He said it right.
Mashantucket, Connecticut. And Joey, we know that you went out yesterday. Gavin, unfortunately, busted out kind of early today. A little bit of numbers first. There was 237 yesterday, 338 today, for a total of 575 people. Nanad Medic was the champion last year, won $1.7 million.
Mimi was at the final table.
That's right.
With him, yeah.
Now, there were 609 entries last year, so are we concerned a little bit of a drop-off, or is poker stagnated?
Some go up, some go down. It's not,
It's not bad.
I don't think it's in any way a problem at all.
No. I mean, I did notice that there aren't a whole lot of West Coast players here. Just walking through the tournament room.
A lot of people don't really like coming to Foxwoods.
No one likes coming to Foxwoods.
I like Foxwoods, but a lot of people don't.
All I care about is when did you bust out today? What level?
2.
Yes. I bust out on the 3rd level.
Yeah, you
but I beat you.
And we're going to hear a little bit from Courtney Harrington as well,
Harrington,
our engineer, who made it through day 1. But Gavin, let's go and listen to what you got to say here about today. What happened, man?
Well, I played like shit. I don't think I ever had a good read. I made 2 payoffs that were sick bad. Then I think I made a bad laydown when I was low in chips, and I probably should have gone with the hand I had. Then I had a little bit of bad luck too. I made a flush, and a guy was trying to bluff his chips off to me and managed to hit the 4-liner on the river, and I paid him off.
Right.
And then my last hand, I got it in with Ace Queen versus Ace Jack and Ace 10, and they both hit a pair, and I didn't. And
I was here prepping for the show, and I kind of saw you storm out, and one of the WPT girls was like, "Hey, Gavin," and he kind of went like, "Hey," and he was like he was running in the bathroom.
Well, there's
I was
nothing
I think he just busted out.
When you bust out these tournaments, man, I literally want to punch someone in the face. I don't want anyone to even speak to me for an hour.
Hey, I'm always gonna bust Gavin about his bust out, but I mean that's a pretty sick hand though. Ace Queen versus Ace Jack versus Ace 10.
Yeah, that's gross.
That hand was sick, but it was pretty inconsequential. I mean, my chips were already really, really low.
Right.
I mean, I would have had like 7,000 if I had won that pot, but I was down to about 2,400 to start the hand.
You were crushed from the door, right? Like you came in and your chips went down the whole time, right?
Like I got it up to above 30 at one point. I went at like 35,000 at one point, but I just really played like crap. I mean, I played. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I played the worst tournament I've played in 2007 today.
Wow.
Well, no, you said you thought you made a bad laydown. That always is interesting.
Yeah, there was a hand that came up where Jeff Madsen opened for 600. I started the hand with about maybe 13.5 or 14,000. Jeff Madsen opens for 600. Nick Schulman calls 600, and I call 600 with 2 9s. Now this big guy who I don't know makes it 3,000 out of the blind. And they both fold, and I call 3,000. And the flop comes up deuce 4-5. And he moved all in. And so I thought about it for a while, and I folded. And it was the same guy that ended up trying to bluff his chips off me later. So I'm pretty sure that, he had about 11,000 at the time. There was 6,000 in the pot, maybe 7,000 in the pot.
And you had him covered?
No, he had me covered, but I had him covered very, very barely. Like maybe I would have had like 500 or 600.
Yeah, but I mean that's not really that bad of a laydown if you do structured hand analysis on it. Well, I mean, if the guy's got an ace with 2 overcards and it's deuce 4-5 board, and he's got a gut shot to the 3, and he's got 2 overcards, if that's the best that he has, and the other times you're crushed, I mean, doesn't that end up being a laydown?
The more the hand played out, though, the more I think though that I'm not crushed. I just don't think that he had a higher pair than me. So there's a chance he's got a lower pair than me, and there's a chance he's got like an ace and or like an ace king or an ace queen. And if that's the case, so if he's got that, I mean, I've got to call like, $10,000, and there's, like 17 or 18,000 in there, so I probably want to call.
Well, I mean, yeah, ace king, ace queen, maybe 50% of the time. If the other 50%, but you're saying the other 50%, you don't think you crushed the other 50% of the time?
I don't think so. I don't think he would have moved all in with a big pair.
No.
Yeah, it's also once you bust out, you always want to go back and get those hands back that you played differently, and you're like, fuck, I should have just called there, and at least you'd have a second shot.
Yeah,
probably looking back, if I'm going to call 3,000 out of 13,000 with 2 9s and get the flop that I got,
Well,
and not go broke, then maybe I have to ask myself a different question.
Well, that's really the issue.
I'm calling 25% of my stack.
Right.
Obviously, I can't be calling 25% of my stack just trying to hoping to hit a set.
Right.
So maybe perhaps my decision pre-flop should have been either muck it or move in. Probably.
Well, what if the board didn't contain that wheel draw though? What if it was 7-4 deuce? That makes somewhat of a difference, I think.
Maybe if you put him on an ace, if you obviously 4 less outs with a 3.
Yeah.
But I think your point's right, Gav. Like, what flop do you want? Like, when you call with that, like, what flop do you want? So,
well,
who knows?
Our engineer Court Harrington got in through what they call an Act 3 satellite, which is like a mega
Such a luck box
tournament.
Yeah, that's me, man. No, I came in, got in the day before. We got in really early in the morning, and decided to play a satellite, and actually played 2 of them. Didn't catch the first one. I did the second, and came in today and just been chipping up all day. I haven't played any big pots, but I'm up to 85K. The only time I was all in was in the first level. A guy, we raise back and forth, and I had aces, and he finally laid it down, but it ended up I only picked up about 10K.
Now, you told me, though, that you thought you blew the guy out of the hand, and you actually might have gotten him to fold kings pre-flop, which is just insane.
Yeah, I really do. I think he did fold kings. I had opened for 300. He made it 13. I made it 45. And he came back with 5K more for 95. And at that point, I moved in, and he thought for a long time.
Right.
And finally folded. And
did you have position on him, or did
that's a good question.
He had position on me.
Okay.
So did you ever think about flat calling and then just check raising it all in any board?
I did any board except a king. But then the question in my mind was, what do I do if a queen comes off? Because the 2 hands I thought he could really be thinking that hard about were kings and queens. And I figured, there's a good chance that if he does have a hand that strong, which I really thought he did, that let's just get him in now and not put myself in that position. Right. And I didn't really think he would fold.
Do you guys do a lot of flat calling now with a re-raise as a 3-bet with aces?
It really depends, on... I just flat called the other day in the 5K with 2 aces.
Yeah.
And I ended up losing the hand. But I think it really becomes an issue of who are you playing against and more that, what do they think of you? You know what I mean? I find that I don't really have to flat call very often because people think I'm so crazy. I just jam it, and I get action either way. So rather than even let a flop come, if some guy's got kings, no one's ever folding queens to me. That's not happening. They're probably not even folding jacks most of the time. So I don't have to slow play it,
Why, because you're a crazy C-block, you mean?
Yeah, because that's how people, you think of people. Like, I think of, an example of somebody like, I love him, but Jeff Madsen, like, you're never folding, a hand to Jeff Madsen because his reputation at this point is just so... he's just nuts, and everyone's like, this kid could have absolutely nothing, because he's been caught bluffing so many times.
Right.
So those kind of guys can get away with just shoving, get it all in, because people just can't fold a lot of those times.
Well, I think when you're mid-stacked, and I don't know what you guys think about that, sometimes even not re-raising with a hand like aces, because if the guy's bad enough from up front, if he'll commit us all his chips, with like an 8-high board with pocket 9s,
right.
then it's a good kind of way to...
Yeah. What do you do, Gav? You flat call a little more.
I hardly ever re-raise.
Right, yeah.
Well, you with any of your hands, though, right? Because you don't want to get re-raised off the shit that you call with. Like you said, Niagara, right?
I just don't want them to know when I've got a good hand
and
I got shit.
Right. Because if you're re-raising with your big pairs, then you're making yourself transparent,
well,
right?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Gavin and I play totally different but the same because we're very consistent in what we do. I raise all the time. And obviously Gavin doesn't raise. He flat calls all the time, but he's consistent, so he always flat calls.
Right.
And that's the point. That way you're not going to give away whether you have a huge hand or a bad hand, and you end up protecting your big hands in those spots. So it's different but the same. That's kind of the way that I look at it. As long as you do the same thing all the time, then it's a good thing, I think.
And how many people actually got? Did you check out the leaderboard there, Court? Like how many people were out of the? I mean, we started with I think it was. What did I say earlier?
337?
Yeah, 338 or something like that.
I didn't see it at the end of that. I know it was around like the mid-200s, 220,
so mid-200s,
so
you guys started with 30,000 in chips. So the average has got to be only like around 45-ish, something like that. So you're just chipping up to 85.
Yeah, I'm very happy to never have to play any huge pots. I was able to bust a guy that had maybe 10K. Got him to call off with deuce 4 on a king jack 7 deuce board on the turn. I don't know why or how he did, but I appreciated it.
You just thought that you were bluffing or something like that?
I guess he thought his pair of deuces with a 4-kicker was good.
But that's always your style. Even, I remember back at the Reno event, where you cashed, you always play those small pots.
Yeah.
You never play those big monstrous pots.
So what happens when you go in with like 85? All right, so now you're, say, double, triple the average going into day 2. Did anything change? I mean, you got a lot of maneuverability, right?
I think it depends on what kind of player you are. I certainly would go in and attack and try to throw my weight around a little bit.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that's the right way to play. That's just the way that I play.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what court's going to be, what you're playing. I'm assuming more of the same for you.
Yeah, it's still early. It's still really early in this tournament. There's
Right.
still well over half the field left. And, I'm just going to go in and, at least for the first couple levels, just play basically like I was today. I open a lot of pots. But then, I'm not afraid to come off my hand,
Right.
Well, it's time right now to do a little thing that we call
Oh, the chainsaw.
the chainsaw update. And
The
we are
Alan
gonna be
Kessler
doing
update.
this. We're going to be doing this.
That was the loudest chainsaw I've ever heard. I felt like
was
that
quite
actually
the
went
sound
through
effect.
my
These
head.
guys are great. This is so much different than Niagara with the sound effects.
I know.
It's absolutely great. Now, Alan Kessler somehow managed. He came out here. I was doing a little prep work for the show. He's second to last in chips from day 1A. He's
You
got
somehow managed to do that?
9,800 chips, and there's only one guy below him. And I asked him, I said, Alan, what have you been up to? And he said, well, last night was a long night for me. I was up in my hotel looking up my name on Card Player and looking at all the sick bust-outs I've had over the last 30 WPT events.
This guy is the sickest motherfucker. That is the most miserable bastard shit I've ever heard. Who does that?
The chainsaw.
Who does that? Do you think that Jim Kelly from the Buffalo Bills, he's just got all the Super Bowls taped, and every night he just goes upstairs, he just watches every single. Oh, here's where he played Dallas. Here's Dallas again. Like that's just what this guy does. I feel bad for Alan. Needs a hug, man. Chainsaw needs a hug.
You ever watch that thing, The Secret? That's kind of a new pop thing about thinking positively. Helps you manifest in real
I have
life.
Not, but he needs to get it.
Yeah, he's just like one of those guys that's just like, I'm always gonna lose.
Let's buy the chainsaw, the Tony Robbins collection.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
He needs like Uncle Robbins. He needs somebody to walk around with him and live.
I know, he's unbelievable. And I'm assuming that he's gonna go in tomorrow thinking he's gonna get it in good and lose. He'll be in there with Ace King versus Ace 3 and just get up and start walking away from the table like he does before.
It's just how
lose the hand.
It's how he rolls, man. That's how he does it.
It's unbelievable. And we're gonna move along here to something interesting now. Right north
Bringing
of
you
us,
the biggest stories.
yeah, northeast of us.
Well, whatever we could find 10 minutes before the show. Poker news.
Poker news.
Northeast of us in the beautiful state of Massachusetts, where I'm from, actually in Boston. It's an interesting initiative that was proposed by Governor Patrick, which would allow for casino-style resorts in Massachusetts. Oh, it sounds nice. Everything's great. Until you read the fine print and internet gamblers read the fine print, and the PPA read the fine print. And in that initiative, it actually explicitly outlaws online gaming and online poker with a 2 years in jail and a $25,000 fine. And my question to you guys is that, if Barry Greenstein and other people are successful in getting this law turned around federally, what is going to happen at the state level? Because, we already have several states, I think Washington and Hawaii and several other states that might, that are saying, you can't play online poker.
Right.
What's going to happen with, certain states, 20, 25 different states say, all right, no, we're just going to outlaw themselves.
How are they even are they able to regulate that up in Washington and whatnot? I only heard the one story that was like a year plus ago. Like, are they actually able to find these people that are playing online poker?
Well, I think that it's more of an issue of, the feds will allow, the feds will allow for states to do whatever they want. They can just make their own laws.
Right.
So, in the age of, a regulated, say, internet poker in the U.S., what are the states going to do? State by state, it's going to suck.
I don't know. I think that's a really good question. How are they going to handle it on the federal level, and where's it going to trickle down? And the answer is we don't know. I certainly don't know.
And I also just find it so interesting that the way this country works is the lobbying factions. We saw it with online horse betting. Had an exemption.
Right.
Well, casinos, they want. Land-based casinos, they want to have gambling, but they're going to restrict online gambling to, restrict the which is kind of short-sighted with poker, right? Because
it's certainly irritating. I don't understand. It's just silly to me. The whole issue has been silly to me from the beginning. And I think it's going to get regulated and should get regulated. And I don't know. There seems to be this line in the sand between the online gaming community and the live gaming community, as if it's two completely different situations.
Right.
And they've dealt with it that way. So I don't know. I honestly don't.
If California, you live in California now. If you were living in California, there's no explicit law in California saying that you can't play. Right. But let's say the feds came out and said it was legal, but California said now it's illegal. Right. What would you do? Would you respect the law, or would you just think it's unenforceable?
Well, I respect all law after,
Yeah, right.
coming face to face with it recently. Oh God, man. I don't know. I mean, oh Jesus, they shot me. I don't know if I mean I'm one of those people. I don't like respecting laws that I don't believe in and that don't make sense. But at the same time, it becomes a philosophical issue. I mean, do you just respect the laws of the land simply because they are the laws, regardless of whether or not you agree with them? And the answer is I don't know what I would do. I probably would still play online. I'm in the nice position. I don't play online that much anyway. I'm not like a massive online gamer. It'd probably be a better question for some of these guys who make all their money online and, get in there and grind it out, 9-10 hours a day. But for me, being the recreational player, every now and then playing Sundays, I would probably still play. How about you, Gab? You'd play.
If it violated Ontario law.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's illegal right now, and I'm playing. So what the hell?
Right.
Screw them all.
Screw
With that,
'em.
Personally, if I lived in LA and they did anything that would allow me to not have to live in LA, I would.
Yeah, use that as an excuse to get out.
I would do that.
Why do you hate LA so much?
Because it's the worst place on the planet.
Yeah, I can't. It is really. I hate it too.
really? It's
I
not worse
hate it.
than
Oh God, it's horrible.
Mashantucket, Connecticut.
That I would rather live in LA than Mashantucket, but it's pretty bad, man. Like I'm from San Francisco, and it just blows LA out of the water.
I don't know if you're aware of this though, Bart, but we're actually not in Mashantucket.
What, Ledger?
We're in Ledyard, Connecticut. We're on the Ledyard, Connecticut is where the Mashantucket tribe.
How do you know all this shit? You always do this.
Well, he's been coming down to Foxwoods for like 10 years,
No, he does this on anything. If we're talking about like F-15 bombers, he'll be like, well, The fact is that the armored alloy on those missiles certainly cannot pierce, blah, 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 blah. And you'd be like, is this a joke? Where the F did you come up with this?
I've had a few beers with my friend Cliff Clavin.
Well, we are moving to our first break. We will be back here more from Foxwoods on PokerRoad Radio. And we are back here at Foxwoods. I'm Bart Hansen here with Gavin Smith and Joe Seabach, or that's Joe Seabach and Gavin Smith. And this is something I want to go over. I actually was roaming around the tournament room earlier. And, Foxwoods, it's a nice casino, but I just get the feeling, and I don't know if you guys agree, that they don't have any idea what they're doing when it comes to poker in the tournament room or in the cash game room.
Most people don't.
I mean, I was walking around and I saw Haralbus' table over there, and they were getting into a long dispute about a hand where basically a guy had limped, and the full raise would have been to 800. I think a guy wanted to raise to 800, okay? But instead, he only threw 700 in by mistake.
Right.
So they didn't allow him to raise
So
because they thought that about the that 50% rule, which of course only applies to when someone is all in. Now, the 50% rule is if I raise and another guy re-raises me and it's not 100% of my bet, a third, I don't have the option to re-raise the whole field. Right. And they I guess they confused that. Now, I was absolutely amazed.
Yeah, they do, especially, in Foxwoods, it seems like the dealers always have a really hard time. Although it's not really their fault, dude, because from what I understand, the floor is continually changing rules and, coming up with all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's almost like they can't get used to just one set of rules. But it happens a lot, man.
I mean, do you ever have an instance where like the table comes together in some sort of consensus and be like, you're not right, and you guys convince the floor that hey, you got to look at this?
Well, I think that we're in the nice position. Certainly, when the I mean, I can't speak for Gab, but when the floor walks up and there's chaos, usually, if you're a known player, you can be like, look, this is what happened,
right?
And you can kind of control it a little bit better. So I've been in that spot before, where they'll kind of appeal to you. But it really depends on where you are. Because some floor people are very comfortable. Some floor people, like Yoda Bellagio, they're bam, bam, bam. And there's no way they're going to be swayed by a player. If the player's right, they will be, but if the player's wrong, that's all there is to it. But then you are in some other places where the floor, isn't experienced or can be sort of influenced a little bit more. So
Barry Greenstein seems to have an open line to all the tournament directors too. He was telling me in Niagara, he's already, I talked to Jason March like 5 times today.
Dude.
He
has an open line to like Jesus and like the president. It's like the most ridiculous.
The other amazing thing that I saw happen here was
I don't take his calls.
You shouldn't, dude. If I could find a way to block Barry Greenstein's phone, I might do it.
This was one of the first times I've ever seen this. This was the update, what I'm holding in my hand here, of day 1A. They have actually redrawn for seats going into day 2. How is that possible?
No. But what they have. Okay, so the guys know what table they'll be on, but they did a random distribution of tables, and they are gonna now draw seats for day 2 as well.
From 1B, right?
From 1B, and they're still gonna be mixed in. So it's not like you're having just everyone from day 1A's all on the same table. And
But how would they know how many people were going to show up today, though? To do that
What do you
from?
mean?
Well, I mean, they move the people from day 1A and they
Right.
draw, but how do they know what table number to draw up to? They don't know that there's going to be more or less people today, right?
I think Mikey probably had a pretty good idea of
They
how many
usually,
people
yeah,
he's
they
gonna
have a
get.
decent idea normally.
Oh, I don't know. I thought that was just absolutely outrageous.
I think that really basically what you are trying to do right now is find anything negative you can find to say about Foxwoods. And I think Foxwoods is a pretty good place, and I think they do a damn good job of running the tournament, and I think they get dogged way more than they should.
It's a little boring.
I really do. I mean,
Don't give him positive
no, I mean,
effects.
I think people have ragged on Foxwoods and on the tournament staff here for quite a while, and I just think they're way, way, way out of line, because I don't think that the job that's done here is anywhere near as bad as everyone always makes it out to be.
Well, let's say this. Where is it worse?
Well, you have lots of terrible rulings everywhere. Sherry makes some of the worst rulings in the planet at the Commerce.
Of course. I'm
So
not
I
saying
mean,
that.
but nobody ever dogs on her.
Yeah, maybe it has to do
You
with
know?
the fact that people just come here and don't like the casino.
I don't
for
know.
some
I mean,
reason.
I think they run kind of a tight ship over there. I can only speak for what I was seeing going on in the cash games, where you go to the table, okay, and there's no chip runners. So
Right.
you go to the table, and I come down with a wad of bills, and the dealer has 10,000 in chips in front of them.
Right.
But they don't want to sell you any chips
Oh, yeah,
because
why do they do that?
because they
What's
don't
the
want to
deal with that?
fill the chips back up. So they're like, you have to get up and get
Right.
chips. And I was sitting playing with Tom Schneider the other day, and he's like, I don't want to get chips.
Right, they
You
don't
know
have
what I
chip
mean?
runners, right?
And he made the dealer sell it, and the guys behind the cage are like, it would be like me handling chips and being a
Right.
chip guy.
Right,
I mean,
right,
they have no clue. It's like,
I don't know. See,
Tell me one thing good that's happened here.
well, as we are going to go into our next segment here, I can tell you some stuff
that was
that
a good
happened
segue.
bad,
You didn't mean to do it, but that was pretty nice.
bad to me.
He's been making his living playing cash games for over 2 months. A regular in the big game at Compton's Crystal Park Casino, now he's sharing his best poker secrets. It's Cash Game Corner with Bart Hansen.
Cash game corner, motherfucker.
Whoa.
There you go.
Yeah, see, that's what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be like Cash Game Corner.
Yeah, that didn't quite work with that.
Because that was honestly the gayest intro I've ever heard. Honestly.
We are planned to do a cash game corner today, and I just came off of my biggest loss ever. Last night, 2 $4,000 buy-ins and a 10 1/4 game.
Not good.
And this is interesting because you guys can speak to this too when you're in a relative situation, when you're 100 big blinds deep in the beginning of a tournament.
Right.
I was a little over 100 big blinds deep when a guy had opened for $75, and the standard raise was about 125 to 150 at our table, and it went call, and I had 2 kings. So I made a rather big re-raise in position. I had about 4,100, and I made it 500. And the guy called, so the pot was 1,100, and the board came out 10-6-3 with 2 spades.
Right.
He checked me. I fired 800, and he put me in, and it was $5,400, $2,700 for me to call.
Right.
And
With what, 28 in the pot? Something
5,400, 2,700 to call,
Right.
2,700 to call, 5,400
Right.
in the pot.
Right.
Now, you tournament guys, when you're really deep in the beginning of tournaments, I don't know if you do stuff like checking for pot control to maneuver that type of hand, but what do you think about that?
I don't
Say you were
think-
in the beginning of the hand.
I think you have a hand there that pot size is pretty much not even going to be a factor. I think that particular hand that you're going to have there is you're just going to have to get a read on the situation to decide whether or not you think you're good. And if you're good, you call. And if you don't think if you think you're beat, you fold. Regardless, I don't think you should be weighing into the size of the pot there.
Well, how can size of the pot not be an issue if there's
Well,
2 spades
because
out there? 2 spades and overs, like an ace, king of spades. I mean, one of the other things, too, that I factored in the hand was I did not have the king of spades in my hand.
Right.
Now, I was talking to my buddy about this, who he said, well, if you didn't have the king of spades, it gives you less outs. But I actually look at it the other way around, where not
takes an out away
having the
from him.
king of spades in my hand makes it more likely for me to call there in that spot than
Right.
having the king of spades in my hand, not the extra backdoor out. But I don't know if you guys ever find in the beginning of tournaments when you're, say, 100, 200 big
Right.
blinds deep that you try to do some sort of pot control with that hand.
Well, that hand there, though, is going to be completely different in a tournament than it is. Like, you're going to lay that hand down a lot more in a tournament just because you're going to be in a situation where you can build those chips back up,
Right.
and you don't want to go out of this tournament. But in a cash game where you can rebuy, I mean, you're probably going to call there most of the time.
Yeah. I think it's right. In a tournament, it's all risk-reward situations. You're always going to have more spots, and
right. You don't always take the correct mathematical expectation,
right? Because it's especially if you're at a good table and then you have your expectations, you're going to keep killing it.
Yeah.
Josh, is in that situation where, you're just not going to do it. So it changes. I agree. Depending on the style of game with the cash or with the tournament.
So, anyways, you called and what happened?
I called and he had aces, and I lost my buy-in.
Well, I don't think, but aces to kings. I don't think there's a whole lot to think about with that.
Well, it's just an interesting spot though. If you're a little bit deeper, say if I had 5,000 or 6,000, this is the cash game corner. When you put a big re-raise in position, or sometimes actually, and a lot of people don't know this, you put a big re-raise out of position. That if you don't flop something better than one pair, you actually check for pot control. I put a big re-raise there in position, and the guy calls.
Right.
There's a range of hands that guy has. Now, he can check, and I can start with, I have 5,000 in the hand, and I can check behind, and I can just call or maneuver the hand later on in a way where I'm trying to figure out if I had the best hand.
Right.
If I had checked behind on that flop, he probably would have bet 700 on the turn,
right,
and then maybe 1,000 on the river. I would have saved like 1,900.
There are definitely times when I do that. I don't know. That's still a pretty good, obviously flop for two kings.
Yeah.
So, but there are definitely times when I do that. And make sure that you regulate the pot. And you're like, oh man, I don't know what's going on here. But I think it's tough to pick that particular flop to say, okay, this is I got to regulate this. That one you're probably like, you want to play a big pot.
It's just tough, but it just goes to show that you get into those situations sometimes. But again, in a cash game, I don't think you ever have a guy's range like you guys do in tournaments where the guy's on total air, which I think is always some part of somebody's range, right?
Definitely. Well, depending on the player, absolutely. There's no question.
But usually in a cash game, when you're that deep, you're just not there. So I rebuy for 4,000 and getting a little frisky. And I usually don't tilt, but I'm a little shocked, a little shell-shocked, and bringing in for a raise with 5-3 of diamonds.
Oh, yeah, but you're not tilting, though.
No. Sometimes I do that to mix it up. I had 3,500, and the board comes out king, queen, 9, or excuse me, ace, queen, 9, all diamonds.
Yep.
So I bet out a little under the pot, 300, and the guy to my left in position calls. Turn is a blank. It's like an offsuit king. So I lead for 700. And he looks at my chip stack, and he raises 2,000, and I have 2,400 left.
Right.
And, I was just like, how can this possibly be happening? I'm not in the mindset to make this decision, which I was thinking about later on.
Because the last hand happened.
And I started talking to him about it, and he's like, I know you're losing. I know, I got you beat. I got a made hand.
Right.
And I was like, oh, what do you think a made hand is on this board?
Right.
And he's like, I got the nuts against you, buddy. And he's like, I'll show it. So I decided to dump the 5-3 of diamonds, and he has 7-10 of diamonds.
Oh, so good fun.
And, in a cash game, it's a situation there where if he raises the turn, there isn't really a whole lot of other hands that he can raise there with except for a flush or some sort of sick bluff. But again, in a 10 and a quarter game, people aren't really accustomed to doing that.
Well, it's tough, and that's, when you're going to play those small, that obviously wasn't actually a connector, but, the small suited cards, you got to know when you have those flushes, you're going to have some tough decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you just got to say, okay, well, if I make this hand, I'm going to have a tough decision. And that's why those can be even more tricky.
And then the very last thing as we wrap this up, I probably played one of the worst hands I've playing full-time cash games for the last 2.5 years, where I limp re-raised with pocket kings with the king of spades to $450 after limping for 25, and a guy called, and I was out of position, and the board came out ace 9-8. All spades. I had two kings with the king of spades. Mm-hmm. I had $1,900 left in my stack, and there was $1,000 in the pot. And what do you think the proper play there should be from up front?
And you raised in?
I limp re-raised, and I'm out of position.
I don't think you're way out of line. Just open shoving.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Absolutely. I'm
because you're gonna call, so it doesn't.
And you can't bet 1,000 and then muck your hand.
And you also can't. And this was one of the other things too. I think the worst play to make is actually to try to go for a check raise, because what people don't understand is you actually want that guy to fold an ace. You want him to fold a red ace. Sure. So you need to have more fold equity. If you check to him and he feels like he's pot stuck, a lot of times I saw that a lot on Live at the Bike and Cash games, where a guy will check raise all in with a draw, not realizing that you can't lay those types of odds.
I used to make that mistake all the time. In Aruba last year when I made the final table, I played a hand with Johnny Bax, with Cliff Josephy, a good friend of mine. Exact situation, very, very similar. If I had just open shoved, in the spot, I would have won the hand, no problem. But I checked him, he got somewhat more committed, and then he ended up having a call. Very, very stupid.
Listen to this disaster. So this is what I do. Yeah. This is my line on the hand. I check to the guy bets 800, and I call, leaving myself with like 1,200 left. The turn pairs the ace, and I shove for 1,200. And my buddy's laughing at me. And I shove for 1,200 on the turn, and he thinks about it for a second. He calls with ace 10, a red ace 10 offsuit. So, I mean, case is made there. If I open shove the flop, God, I mean, he's pretty
got a
bad when he calls the
decision, at
limp
least.
re-raise with
Yeah.
ace 10 off anyways, but
Right.
pretty bad stuff.
Who
Just,
knows? He
you
may
know,
have called you anyway, but you have a better chance to pick up
oh
the
my
pot if you
God.
play it that way.
Just, I guess, moral of the story is I don't think that I necessarily tilt like in the same way that other people do.
Right.
But tilting means a lot of different things. It just means you're not playing
I
at
think
your
that
best.
the moral of the story is you need to get better at poker. I believe.
Well, these games, I mean, these games have been great. Can you believe that I'm actually even for the week after 3 days after
That's
taking
good.
that
That's
that
good.
beat yesterday? So, I don't know. It was just a crazy, crazy night. Hopefully, it will go better for me tonight. Moving on here, which is another interesting hand of the day. And this one is really something. In a $10,000 tournament, I'll read you the action here. With a board of ace, king, jack, 10, queen, with a total rainbow, Nick Schulman moves all in for almost $25,000 into a tiny pot.
Ace, king, jack, queen.
Ace, king, jack, 10, queen. Rainbow.
Okay. Gotcha.
Schulman moves in for $25,000 into a tiny pot. Men the Master quickly calls all in behind him. Seat 3 folds, and Tom Dobrolvik calls behind, or moves in behind.
With the nuts on board.
Seat 6 announces that he's all in now, and it's up to Beth Shack to make her decision. After 3 moments, she mucks her cards.
Wow. With the
And
nuts on
dumps.
board, there's no flush, there's no...
Ace, king, jack,
rainbow.
queen, 10,
So
rainbow.
they
Does this
they
surprise
managed-
you?
They managed to get 2 people to fold.
Yeah, it's
2 people to
unbelievable.
fold.
Those other guys played good.
I was at that table. I'm not surprised.
Oh, you're at the table?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised Beth Shack folded, and I'm not surprised C3 folded. So no, given the 2 people that folded, I'm not that surprised.
That's scary, though. That is scary.
I mean,
For people that pay $10,000.
didn't Beth Shack finish second in a televised event at the World Series
Yeah,
this
she
year?
did.
Yes, she did.
I mean, I guess that doesn't mean anything. But
It
it's
was,
just,
and that was the most... Did you see that final table on TV?
It was kind of entertaining.
I've never seen... I mean, it was unbelievable. Like, she was, like, picking up her cards. Like, remember, there were 2... She had aces and another dude's all in.
flashing her boobs.
Yeah, but, dude, the third guy, and then she, like, literally picked up her cards and was dancing and
her
shit.
and Helmuth were high-fiving each other when they
Exactly. It
both
was
had aces.
so unbelievable. I would have knocked
Although,
the shit out of both of
You
them
know what?
if I was
Though,
at
you
that
got.
table.
I will point out one thing though. I was at the table today, and Beth
Yeah.
Shack was announced today that today was her 40th birthday.
Yeah.
She looks pretty good for 40.
She's hot,
absolutely.
dude, for her,
Absolutely.
of course.
I mean, it looks like that she might have had some work done, but I'm not, opposed to that at all.
She definitely looks good. She definitely. I don't even know. I was trying to save you on that one, but I couldn't move fast enough. Yeah, but that certainly is pretty bad. But I applaud those other guys for moving in. I've done that to people before. You just try to scare somebody just for that momentary second. Where they will fold in those spots. It happens. It's nonsense.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's like having a straight flush on board,
Yeah.
We got a phone call from some jackass in L.A. named Scott. We're going to bring it up here in a second.
all I
and
know
see
is
what he has
Scott
to
in
say.
LA. 2 questions. 1, Bart, on your very poorly maintained MySpace page, the quote is Asian nipples. What is up with that? 2, is that a headshot of you on the PokerRoad page? Just wondering.
Who is that guy, huh?
So
Who is that
Huffy
guy?
wants to know
What is it about the Asian nipples?
how vain are you and what's up with the Asian nipples?
I've tried
Why are you vain?
I'm not vain.
Bart, so vain.
I've tried to tell you on the side, but it's never really come out. I have just as much
He
yellow
needs to show-
fever.
He needs to know the show's not about him.
Just
Bart's so vain. Vain.
well, now we get another sound drop. I have just as much Asian fever as your dad does.
You like the Asians too?
Oh, are you kidding me?
Dude, you and Greenstein should go out and just tear up. You know what I mean?
Oh,
the
man.
East.
I loved hanging out with him for the last 2 days. It was just, I just knew every time he would talk to a white girl, he wasn't really serious.
It makes me so nauseous to think of you talking to my father about sexual things with Asians. I can't even possibly put into any. Thank you. Can I get another one, please? It's literally the grossest thing I can imagine. Oh God, that hurt. Oh, my stomach muscles to vomit so hard, but it's worth it for
but
that.
I used to say Asian nipples a lot on Live with the Bike, so I put that up on
In what
MySpace.
context did you say Asian nipples?
Oh, you know how Tuckman and I would just go off on a tangent.
And like a hot girl walked in, you went Asian nipples. I bet those are nice. Is that what you
all
would
the
do?
cocktail waitresses, yeah, pretty much. But speaking of MySpace, because my background on MySpace is Live at the Bike stuff, I'd love to have it all Poker Road. What's the deal with that? We're gonna have a
What's
Poker
up?
Road
What do you
MySpace?
need? We do, brother. It's up there. So you're like our third friend.
Poker
We
Road.
suggested
Is it
it.
MySpace.com/Poker Road
I think
Radio?
it is. I didn't create it, but it is.
Well,
yes,
we gotta
Poker
keep
Road.
that thing updated. And
It's
I'm gonna
up.
change
Let's
the
do it.
graphics there.
Buddy, I will give you the login, and you can put Asian nipples, whatever you want to put on
All
that
right,
thing. You
then-
can take care of it.
then there we go.
It's all you, brother.
Well, we got another phone call here.
That was so funny.
What's up, boys? Great to have you back. This is George from Somerville. A couple things. First of all, to Eugene Todd, bro. I've smoked many a joint in the parking garages at Foxwoods. Never had any problems with security, so if you're there in the future, that's the spot to go. And anyway, on to my question for you guys. I wanted to ask about playing a short stack, since Gavin has talked about having improved at it, and Joe also. But when you're around 15 to 20 big blinds, is this a time where what I've been trying to do recently is just to, if I'm going to open up a pot, I'm only going to do it with a hand that I'm willing to put all my chips in with. So, I have to fold hands like 9-8 of hearts, which is really saddening. I really want to play those hands, but is that a good strategy for when you're opening, to only do it with a hand that you're willing to go all in with, so you can have a big enough stack to maybe re-steal out of the blinds against aggressive late position raisers? So that's what I've been trying to do recently, and I was wondering if that's a good strategy.
What do you think, guys?
Playing like a 15 to 20 big blind stack. Thanks a lot, guys. Love the show.
I don't think it's a terrible strategy. I mean, I don't think if you've got 15 to 20 blinds, you necessarily have to be married to a hand. I think that limping is fine at that spot. I mean, I do it a lot more than probably most people in poker, but I'm quite happy to limp and let go of my hand if if there's some action behind me. Or I think even if you've got 20 big blinds, what's wrong with bringing it in for 3 big blinds and letting it go if you get played at?
Right.
I think you're probably jumping the gun by thinking that you have to, if you're going to put a chip in with his hand, then you're going to be committed to it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're hands that I'm still getting, especially in the 15 to 20, blind range. You're still going to raise, in late position with a hand like, ace 10. It's not like you can just pass on these hands, and obviously you're hoping that everyone's going to fold. And you're not probably going to call an all-in most of the time, depending on who the guy is. So, I don't know. I think it's a mistake to have these rules, to have these,
Nothing's absolute.
Right. I'm always going to do this. I'm always going to do that. I certainly don't just, decide I'm only, at that point I've gone into basically crisis mode. I'm only going to play hands that I'm going to, go the distance with. I think that's a mistake.
Yeah. The email here from Jeff Campione. He says, is it me or does the chainsaw, a.k.a. the tool Kessler...
Whoa! First off, this guy here, I don't even know this Jeff guy, Campion or whatever, but his name is the Chainsaw. You can't add an AKA. He's not also known as the Tool. His name is the Chainsaw, and if you want to be part of our show, by all means send in your emails, but don't try and take over the name-making
Yeah, because
job.
we also don't want to come up with more sound effects.
And again, you can
Like,
send
we don't
those
want
emails.
tool sound effects of building something.
You can send those emails to prradio@pokerroad.com. prradio@pokerroad.com. Go on with the email. He says he has a striking resemblance to WSOP champion Donkey Luxbox Robert Barconi. A little bit, yeah. And this is great. Next prop bet wager recommendation. The next Gavin Joe prop bet loser should have to travel in a car with Chainsaw and share a hotel with him for the entire tournament stop.
That's like a big
I don't share
big bet. Dude.
I don't share a hotel room with hardly anyone, and it certainly isn't going to be with Chainsaw.
Could you imagine? It would be like you'd be in the hotel room and he'd turn on TV and be like, Gavin, can you believe it? The Sixth Sense just ended. I love this movie. It's such a beat. I want to watch this film so bad. And he would talk about it for the rest of the night.
No, it wouldn't be that. He doesn't watch movies. It would be like, it would be like, Gavin, they got some really great 9-6 machines downstairs that, you've got a 0.07% edge.
By the way,
the comp procedures are doubled during the tournament time right now.
He kills that shit.
I mean,
you know that.
Yeah, that's what you would hear about.
He absolutely kills. Chainsaw absolutely, don't play it again. He kills these video poker machines, like, unbelievable.
By the way, him and Chow Jang,
Yeah.
when he was telling me about the thing that he just watched himself on WPT online or something, they went up to play video poker. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to play video poker. I'm like,
He told me.
How do you kill video poker?
Oh, he's so good. He's won cards and it's so much shit.
You can play video poker for a positive.
Yeah, he kills it.
There's machines that are beatable if you play perfect.
Right.
And
I don't even know exactly what it is.
He finds machines that
you mean the ones that are like? I thought that was like a wives' tale. I mean the ones that are closer to the doors, like pay off.
No. It's nothing to do with where it's located. There's machines that it's all based on the full house payoff, and I don't know the exact
straight royal flush payoff.
And I don't know the exact numbers. No, it's not. The ones that are beatable are the ones that I don't know. I think it's like a 9-6 payoff.
It's something. I don't know what it is, but he.
But anyways, he gets them.
Yeah, he totally. He was gonna teach me how to do it at like Mandalay Bay or something, but I decided
a lot of times too. What they think about doing is that if they can find break-even machines, and these guys will play a high volume on break-even machines just to get the comps, and that'll make it worth. That'll make it profitable.
Another email here from Raul de Los Santos. He says, "Hi guys, I'm an online player from Mexico City, and believe it or not, your show is very popular here in Mexico.
Mexicans love PokerRoad Radio.
With the Mexican online players.
I like the Mexicans.
Dude, everyone knows I like them. I smuggle those little bastards in our country every weekend.
Well, we're really big fans of PokerWire and PokerRoad Radio now, and we love the show. But really, this guy Hansen need to work more like a host. He doesn't research the stats of your guests like Joe Stapleton. And he says,
I agree.
Who are these guys, online players, and really, who is him? He's a nice guy, but
Who
if you
is
don't
him?
want just Joe Stapleton on your show, I don't know why.
He's not that nice a guy.
He's vain.
Then this Bart
vain.
Hansen or wherever must research a lot more of your guests. Like in the preview on the final table, he doesn't know that Kofi Farkey was destroying online poker last year under name Red Sox, but banned right now, and Jeff Garza, Action Jeff, hated each other because of multi-accounting.
Did you know about these things? I didn't. I don't think you need to know about the border wars of online players.
Well, thank you, Raul.
But you are vain.
Yes, you are.
You are so vain.
Unjustly, I would say.
I would agree.
We're going to wrap things up.
You should have
here.
no self-esteem, and you are
Take
vain and have a lot.
little break, and we will be back here from Foxwoods at PokerRoad Radio. And we are back here on day 1B of the Foxwoods World Poker Finals from Mashantucket, Connecticut.
You just have like a mental block,
I do.
dude.
I can't pronounce it. It wasn't even
unbelievable.
a bit. Mashantucket, Connecticut.
There you go.
And we are here with today's guest, Josh Aryeh. How you doing today, Josh?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Josh, most people know you from your third place finish in 2004 at the main event. We haven't seen that much of you lately, but before we get into that, tell us what happened. You played today on day 1B. What's going on?
I started fading at the end. I haven't played much poker, and
Hey, gotta hate those 9-hour days, eh?
So grueling.
I mean, I'm used to not doing anything for 9 hours. But I don't know. I played decent. I felt like I was in control, but I don't know. I faded at the end. I missed a straight draw. I'm not used to missing. So
Your draws just always come in, right?
pretty much.
Yeah.
How much did you end with?
46.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I played decent. I never really had any ups and downs. It was kind of steady pace.
Why haven't we seen you around the tour all that much?
I don't know. I'm not really up to traveling the country. I mean, just going from tournament to tournament anymore. I have three girls at home and trying to help out at home, and I get to play some online, and it really was a grind traveling from tournament to tournament, and I found myself I wasn't playing my best, and so now it's like I really, when I'm playing now, I don't know when the next time I'm going to play. I mean, it could be a month, it could be 3 months, and so it's like I play every tournament like it's my last, and it's working out for me.
So was this a spontaneous thing for you to come here?
No, I planned on coming. I planned on playing the Borgata, and I kind of backed out at the last minute because I just didn't feel like traveling. And then, so I planned on coming up here because it's such a great, beautiful place. And,
Yeah, it is gorgeous.
it's beautiful country, but they shouldn't have put a red roof in the middle of Nantucket or wherever we are.
Mashantucket.
Hey, he said it right.
There you go.
But I'm just enjoying playing. I feel like I'm playing to the best of my ability. I don't know how good it is, but I feel like I'm playing on top of my game, and I'm dodging tilt.
Well, it's interesting because I've heard some other guys talk about that too, where if you don't go around and play, say, in every event, I don't know if this speaks to you guys. You guys
Right.
really have played in every event like the last 3 years, right?
For the most, I mean, not every, but certainly, a pretty sickeningly high percentage.
So, I mean, do you find that you get a little bit rusty, or sometimes is it, maybe it's a little bit overwhelming, right? I mean, you guys are really grinders. You just go around from tournament to tournament,
I mean, I've done it too. I mean, back from 2002 until early 2006, I probably played 80% of the tournaments that were 5,000 buy-in or more. And I just, I think it wears on me. I mean, it's just me personally. I know that I didn't play my best. And I look back compared to the way I've been playing this year, I haven't had any big finishes, but I truly feel like I'm playing to the best of my ability, and it feels good. It's satisfying. I mean, I think I'm good enough to do well, and since I think I know I'm good enough to do well, and I feel like I'm playing to my best ability, then eventually something will fall together.
What? And I guess you got you cashed at Legends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. So you've been getting there a little bit, you know.
I felt in that tournament, I felt like I played my best.
Right.
There were a couple pots that could have gone different ways, and I could have had huge chips, but they didn't, and that happens. And I think I cashed. I think I squeaked into the money or something.
Right? Yeah,
that.
you did.
Well, and if this doesn't work out too, you've always got your high stakes golf to fall back
Man,
on.
we're going to get to that in a
we
second.
watched on television.
We had to bring that up.
Let's bring that up right. Yeah, let's bring that up right now. I mean, you were on the same team with Daniel Negreanu, Eric Lindgren. For people that didn't know how that was set up, talk a little bit about like what that whole process was and who you played with.
It was $1 million a man. It was $1 million a hole. And
$1 million a hole.
$1 million a hole.
Oh, that's all.
So $333,000 a man a hole, and two tie all tie. So there weren't carryovers. It's not like the first hole's tied, so next hole's $2 million a team. It's not like that. We ended up one skin down. We lost $333,000 apiece to Doyle, who didn't know they'd win. But I would love to do it again. I mean, we were the underdogs going in. Everybody thought we were the live ones and didn't have a chance. But we had a chance to really win. I mean, on the 8th hole, Phil Hellmuth raced in like a 30-foot putt. This guy's something else.
Yeah.
Billy Walters might be worth $100 million if he's not worth a penny. And Phil Hellmuth is on Billy Walters' team. He makes the putt on the 8th hole, and he walks off and tells Billy Walters to get the ball out of the hole.
No.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I don't know if he was directly said it. He didn't say, Billy, you go get the ball.
Holy shit.
But it's like Billy said, good putt, and Phil says, get the ball for me, or somebody get the ball. I mean, it was amazing.
Wow.
And the thing was, it wasn't contrived. I mean, they're filming it, and the actual betting is going on from the stuff that they filmed. It wasn't anything
No.
Yeah.
It was the production crew was amazing. It was we never were stalled. It was literally like we were just playing regular golf. It's like we played at our pace. We never had to wait. They never cued anything. It was the production crew was first class. I mean, it was more than I can say about some poker shows. It takes there's 2 minutes between every hand at a final table, or at least it was back 10 years ago when I made one.
Gavin's a big golfer, and didn't you say that you don't like playing with some of those guys, the guys that like playing the big game, just because like it's?
No, I didn't say I don't like playing with them. I just said I don't choose to play with them. I don't see how I'm going to get any value playing golf with Chip Reese and Doyle Brunson and those guys anyway. So
yeah, they're not out there for fun like we are. I mean, we're out there for action, for fun, and those guys are out there to pick up the dollar bills that we leave that fly out of our cart on the way.
I'd rather gamble. I don't mind gambling big when we play, but I'd rather just gamble with people that you're getting a fair game with. And
so you're saying that they're actually looking for an edge, just like they're looking for an edge in their poker game. They're looking for an edge in their golf game. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Are they
very interesting?
So those guys, they are that serious out there.
Oh yeah,
No
I mean
joke.
it's really serious. I mean, Doyle's one of the best competitors I've ever competed against on the poker table as well as in golf. I mean, it's amazing how he's on his crutch limping over to the ball, and then it's like the crutch is gone, and this man, I mean, he's like a statue there. It's amazing. I mean, he golfs about like a 30 handicap, but he putts like a scratch golfer. I mean, his putt and stroke, he may not make them all, but man, he puts a good roll.
I mean, I can't even imagine then how much money that guys like Negreanu and Ivy have lost when they came up. Remember, they just started playing like a couple of years ago, right?
I wouldn't put.
I don't think you have to worry about Phil Ivey taking the worst of it.
I wouldn't put Ivy in that sentence. Phil Ivey hold his own anywhere.
Yeah,
and gambling on anything.
Yeah, but Negreanu.
Daniel loves action. He loves competing, and his golf game to him is what it is like at its best. Like Daniel could be playing horrible, but he knows he's capable of making a par, so that's how he's going to match up, and he's gonna go out there and think he's going to make par every hole with his new one-plane swing.
One of the things I always like to talk about with guests and stuff is how you started up in poker, because you're a guy from Atlanta, and I hadn't heard of any other guys that were from Atlanta playing poker. So how'd you come up?
I've always loved gambling. I mean, it started when I was 12 years old, and I lost probably 80 games in a row playing pool against a guy that I was in 8th grade with, and we literally doubled the bet every game. And I think at the end I owed him like $380,000, and he bought my polo wallet for $90,000 and my J. Crew pullover for another $150,000. So I literally lost like my favorite stuff to this guy. And then I made my way to the pool room and got better at pool, and eventually you couldn't match up playing pool, and everybody was super tight about matching up playing pool, but the pool room would close and they would just give their money away at the poker table. So I would win there and just got the itch and found home games around town and got my brother's driver's license, made my way to Biloxi, and
it's interesting too, because some guys. One that pops to my mind is Johnny World Hennigan, right? He was a pool hustler too before he was a poker player. Yep. So you only can make so much money before it just goes dry because people just won't play you with
playing pool.
Yeah, playing pool.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's not that much money in the pool world. I mean, even the top players. I mean. The top players don't make 6 figures, and if they do, it's barely 6 figures. And these guys are super talented. I mean,
So wait, are you talking about
from tournaments or gambling? You mean
from tournaments and gambling?
That was exactly my question.
There's not that much money playing in pool. I mean, there's a big tournament every year in Louisville, and for a couple years I'd go up there, and a big match would be like a 6-hour match bet where 5,000 is bet. And that's a big match, and there's probably 75 people watching this match.
So there's a lot more money in cards then, for sure.
Oh, it's not even close. It's not even close.
One of the other things I wanted to talk to you about, and I've never really seen it discussed all that much, is what I thought was one of the greatest laydowns in television history. And they kind of made a big deal about it when it happened, but I didn't think they really took it to where, what it should have been. And that was laydown that you made against John Murphy with, what was it, about maybe 20 players left or so in 04, right? And, you were drawn to a king-high flush. I think it was hearts. And Murphy had a set, and the heart came on the river, but the boar paired. And Murphy, it's always interesting.
I remember this.
It's always interesting on the river because it's an issue of, does he check raise the river? Because then Josh makes a value bet, but is Josh going to call a check raise? Or, remember what we talked about yesterday? Do you make the one bet, naming your own price on the river? Right. He made the one bet, but he didn't get a call. Right. He actually folded. Right. So what was your read and stuff going on in that hand?
I mean, on his part, it's not a bad play. I mean, everybody. I mean, I get stuff from people about this hand a lot, and everybody says, well, all he had to do is check. Well, John Murphy's a great player, and he put me on a flush draw, which I had, and he didn't think I was capable of laying down a flush. Which most times I'm not. I mean, most times I'm gonna pay that hand off. But I mean, it's just weird. It was John Murphy was moving his chips so well in that tournament at that table. It was either me or John Murphy picking up every pot. I mean, raising and re-raising, and I mean, I think that was the best I've ever played in my life. And John Murphy was matching me, if not playing better. And I mean, the hand came up, and I knew that he knew that I had a flush draw. I mean, it's just one of those things, I knew he wouldn't risk his whole stack because I had a flush draw. It's just such an easy situation where if the guy's got a flush draw and a flush card comes, the leader is going to check.
Right.
And I just knew that he's not going to he wasn't going to put his chips at stake right there. And I was right. And
what ended up being like? What was the size of the all-in comparison to what the pot was? Do you remember?
No, it wasn't that ridiculous. I mean, I think
was it a pot size? It was over a pot size bet.
No, it was about a pot size bet.
Yeah.
But I mean, the major factor in it all was that I was picking up so many chips here and there, and I was playing small pot poker to the best of my ability, and I just felt that I didn't have to make this great call right there, and risk my tournament for that because I could have gotten my chips back because there was a lot of easy spots at that table. I mean, I think that year there was 2,500 people and there was 2,000 internet qualifiers. I mean, so there was still. I don't want to say dead money because nobody's dead money, but there was a lot of soft spots that I was able to steal a lot of money, and it wasn't the right time to call John Murphy down.
You guys had played before the big internet boom, but that year in 04 must have really been something, that atmosphere.
That was actually my first main event.
Really? You'd never played the main event before that?
Nope.
I mean, you said 2,500. I mean, it was 839 the year before, but to go in there and then make it to the end, it must have been pretty insane from where poker was a year before, right?
It was a hell of a run. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think about it all the time. I had so much fun playing, and I mean, because I love pressure situations, and I don't know. I like leaning on people when there's a lot of pressure, and I hope that I can get back to something like that soon.
Now, of course, one of the things that was taken away from there, and you've been on TV definitely more than a handful of times, was kind of how they portrayed, kind of an attitude where sometimes you would like lambast players for making certain moves, stuff like that.
Harry Demetria.
Saying David Williams.
Let's just call it. It was Harry Demetria. He was a dick too.
Well, even saying that David Williams was a joke for calling off half a stack with pocket fives and hitting a set. Then, of course, there was the comment to David Williams about Raymer at the end. You've seemed to kind of tone it down. We haven't heard that stuff from you. Is that just something that's like from your youth, or is that just kind of
he turns his
blown
mic
out
off
of proportion?
now?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I've learned to know when I have the mic on and when I don't. But
it's all there when the mic's off.
But
I mean, he's still laying motherfuckers out when the mic's off. He's just
but
aware
you
of
gotta
it.
understand, it's so much different now. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm rich or I don't need the money at all, which is not the case. But back then, I mean, I went from either I got a shot to win $5 million, or I'm gonna go back home and I'm gonna play 10-20.
Yeah.
And I just it was so emotional when everything is right there in front of you. And in my whole life, not my whole life, but ever since I started playing poker, everybody's dream is to win the World Series of Poker, to win the main event. And I wasn't, I'm not going to hide my emotions. I'm an emotional person. I have fun, and, some stuff came out. I'm a huge competitor. And when I lose, it doesn't matter if they have the best hand or if they have the worst hand. It pisses me off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't regret it at all. I mean, I guess I regret it a little because Harry's such a nice guy. But, I mean, I don't know.
He wasn't nice to me, man.
Did you have an incident too with them?
Harry Demetrio.
Was
this circuit days?
Yeah.
Man, this
what happened? What did the guy do?
He went on and on. He said
when Joe and I had a bet on the World Series, he said that Joe would in a 2-horse race would come 17th.
Some shit like that.
I really dug it in there for you. Yeah. Now you're wearing your Bodog shirt, and I know you're sponsored by Bodog, right, with a couple other pros. What's the latest going on there?
I don't know.
That's great.
I don't know. Patent troll owns Bodog.com now. But no, I mean, just they're going on with business as it was before. They just changed their name. There's a lot of smart people that work at Bodog, and they were able to. The most powerful thing that a website has is their name, and this guy just came in and stole it and claimed that he owns the technology that they use or whatever. And, Calvin's a smart guy and has good people working for him, and he was able to bring the Bodog Life name to the top of search engines. And, you got to give it up to him. It's pretty funny. I read the other day that Calvin challenged the guy to $1 million MMA match.
Mixed martial arts, right?
So like he challenged a guy, like if the guy beats him, he gets the Bodog name and $1 million. But if Calvin wins, then he gets the name back. The
guy had to accept the challenge, but demand it happens in the United States.
I know. There's no shot. But no, I mean the games have been great. I love playing there. I have a table that I play at all the time, and I get to play Omaha. I don't get to play that high, but it's fun. I try to get in 30 or 40 hours a month and represent the people at the best I can.
We got an email from one of our listeners here, Colin, and he wanted to say, first off, I just thought I'd say I was railing the W Coupe main event, and that's the World Championship of Online Poker and Stars, and I thought you played great. Lost a tough pot with a pair and a flush draw versus 2-pair after taking the chip lead. This is in the main event. He said he had a few questions. Are you bitter at all that someone, we're talking about that guy that's the multi-counting guy, Void, happened to be the person that knocked you out? Do you think about how things could have been different if he wasn't in the tournament at all? I mean, that is for so much money. That really is the World Series of online poker.
If you think about it, it could be it could be different. I could have finished 500th. I mean, I mean, one person makes. I mean, it's just the same as a guy walking in the tournament and walks a circle around his chair before he sits down. I mean, one little thing changes everything. And, him being in the tournament didn't cost me winning. Him being in the tournament actually made everything happen the way it happened. And that's why I won $300,000. So, I mean, no, I'm not bitter at all. I'm bitter that Vanessa Russo hit an ace when I had 2 kings and
sucked out twice, right?
She sucked out twice. I'm bitter that I didn't. I mean, I'm bitter that I flopped a pair and a straight flush draw against 2-pair, and I'm not bitter at all, man. I don't give a damn. I mean, shit. I made $300,000 from my office chair. I mean, how the hell can I be bitter?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it'd been nice to win 1.4 million or whatever, but no, man, I'm cool.
Well, that sounds like keep it positive. Josh Aria, thanks a lot for coming by,
thanks for
man.
having
You
me,
were
guys.
great,
Anytime.
and good luck.
Cool, appreciate it.
As the only representative here that's still in the tournament.
Ouch.
So, anyways, we will be back with a little outro here in a second on Poker Road Radio. Back here at Foxwoods World Poker Finals.
I was gonna ask. I thought we were on ecstasy for a second, and then like the chainsaw kicked in. I didn't know what was going on.
You know, in the outro, I wish we had something that was good to look forward to, but both of you guys have busted out. And day one, of course, we have
Court Harrington.
Court Harrington.
Our
at least somebody can play poker here.
Our very good replacement producer, Court Harrington. We have, so it's all good.
Goodness. And
we can look forward to hearing about you dropping another 8 dimes.
It's fun.
Yeah, we can look forward to that.
Once in a blue moon.
I hopefully don't have to look forward to another hangover after all the drinking I did last night.
Oh, we didn't even get to that. I'm going to talk about that more tomorrow in a little segment we call, Staying Up Till Dawn with Joey Seabach. And then Drinking with Gavin Smith as well on the side. You guys are fucking alcoholics, man.
Yeah, it's not far from the truth.
Yeah.
I didn't stay up till dawn.
Gavin was good last night.
You had to play. You had to get knocked out in the first 3 hours.
Look at this guy.
Maybe one of these days you'll actually get to play a tournament instead of critiquing those that actually
how
do
about
it.
this? Let me suggest this now.
110th in the main event this year.
Oh, one tournament,
two
one
final
tournament.
tables.
Yeah, what place do you come those final tables?
Let me suggest this. We will pick an event in the future. I don't know what it will be. Maybe Bellagio, maybe whatever.
Yeah.
The three of us, we will have a last longer. I don't know what it will be. The bet will be big, and we will all play. So that way, you, Mr. Vane, can be quiet and stop attacking us.
Like I said, I'm making so much money in the
Mind
cash
you,
games on the side. I just don't see
You're
the
like
value.
-8 every time you walk in. It's negative EV.
I would rather do something other than a last longer though, because this
We'll do
fucking
something
nits
else.
is never gonna play. So why don't we actually crossbook or something where we can actually
Let's
punish
do that. Crossbook. Let's do crossbook. No last longer.
All right. Well, with
Because
that,
Gavin and I are never a good bet to get out of the second hour, but once we do, the shit is on.
Once we get out of the second hour, we're really favorites to make it to the third or fourth.
Yeah, absolutely. No question. No question.
We'll see you tomorrow here from Connecticut, from Foxwoods, and we'll be back here with day 2. Good luck, Courtney Harrington.
You're so vain.
You need to know the show's not about you.
Bart
Good night, everybody, from Poker Road Radio.
I'm becoming less